Hello, my name is Raul Rodriguez, and I'm going to speak to you today about crisis management and how one can apply transformational leadership to the different situations. So, my sports connection began in Little League as a youth, and I continued playing sports all through high school, where I was a cross country runner and a miler at Ysleta High School. My management career and leadership connection came from being a manager in radio and TV for many years, all throughout the state of Texas and Wyoming. During my career, I launched and managed 12 different radio stations and 3 different TV stations across 8 markets. I had a few firsts in this market. I was the first producer and statistician for high school football in Spanish on radio. I was the first to do the same thing in Spanish radio for the El Paso Diablos for both home and away games in the Texas League back in the day. And both these were done on Spanish station Comma Radio. Then I also had a first here in Texas and also in the market by combining and managing a Spanish radio and TV combination under one roof for the Univision TV network. So managing a crisis and transformational leadership can work very well. When you manage a crisis, you must have sufficient planning, a structure, because sometimes advance warning comes in only a matter of minutes. It can certainly be an unexpected event. The impact of a crisis is far-reaching, threatens the expectations of stakeholders related to health, safety, environmental, and economic issues, and can seriously impact an organization's performance and generate negative outcomes. Crisis management plans are designed to provide a structure for an organization's response to an incident. Sometimes, as I mentioned, it can be only a matter of minutes. The crisis can be small or big, involving an individual or an entire organization. Moreover, it can start with just one individual's actions and then encompass a whole organization. There are many styles of leadership. Our textbook talks about 3, transformational, transactional, and servant leadership. These are the main ones covered. Transformational is the most practiced and most researched type of leadership, and you can use it successfully to manage almost any organization and situation. Transformational leadership involves the use of motivation instead of ordering people around, and the leaders are usually responsive to the individual needs of their followers, and they also set challenging expectations. Transformational leaders empower followers by aligning the goals of the organization, the leader, and the group. I used to say when I managed, we can do things your way, we can do things my way, or we can do things our way. This way, I would encompass everybody as we move towards the goals of the organization. Transformational leaders are visionary and appeal to the higher order psychological needs of followers for feeling valued and worthwhile in the organization. By contrast, transactional leaders focus on rules and procedures and promise followers rewards for good performance. At times, this can be an inflexible type of management. My own personal crises in relation to sports came when my grandson approached me about playing basketball for the summer at the YMCA Summer League. So I went ahead and registered him, but I had my doubts since he had never played organized ball before. But he does have some height. He's 13 years old at this point and about 6'2" in height. So I told him that we would have to establish some expectations and some goals in order for him to meet his goal. His goal was to develop the skills to make it onto the middle school team. So we set the following expectations. We would practice basic skills such as dribbling, passing, rebounding, and defense. And we wouldn't focus just on scrimmaging. I also told him that I would expect him to be obedient at home and with his parents, and since the season was stretched into the school year, I told him that he would have to keep his grades up in school. And a consequence would be that if he didn't meet these expectations, I would ask the coach to bench him. So I registered him in the program, and we acquired all the gear and got him excited. But I did not hear back from the YMCA for a couple of weeks after the registration. I called the YMCA, and ironically, they said, "Hey, practice starts today," and they directed me to a local recreation center in the Lower Valley. As I walked into the gym, I received a call on my cell phone from the Y, and they said, "Mr. Rodriguez, sorry to inform you, there is no coach for your team, therefore there is no team." Since I had received these news from the Y, I was in front of 26 parents, about 10 players, and 6 of their siblings who became very upset and disappointed when I told them about the news. And immediately in my mind I thought, this is actually the size of a small organization. In essence, these people are the stakeholders. I'm just here as part of the team with my grandson. But then I snapped and I thought, I'll be the coach. So I made that decision, and I told him, okay, I'll do this. I've done it before. The YMCA accepted me as a coach, but then I discovered that we were only 1 week away from practice. We were 1 week away from the first game. We had no equipment, we had no uniforms, we had no venues, no gyms available for practice. And of course, at that point, there was very little cooperation due to the hostility that the parents had towards the YMCA. So I went back to the YMCA for help, and their response was, figure it out, because there are no refunds on registration fees. We are a nonprofit operation. So I made a decision that I could not do this alone, and I would need to solve the crisis. So I recruited 2 assistant coaches to help me with the coaching while I focused on our other challenges. I would focus on managing the parents and their expectations and participation. I would have to be a transformational leader in order to develop their trust and meet all the needs of the stakeholders involved. Parents in youth sports can be very brutal with their criticism and expectations. Most dads think they are better at coaching than the coach himself. So I had a meeting with all the stakeholders, with all the stakeholders, the players, and the parents. And I wanted to discuss the expectations. We all agreed that most of the players wanted to develop their skills so they could move up and play with their middle school teams. They all agreed or the kids agreed that they would be obedient towards their parents, and this is something that parents really liked. As well as I told them they would have to keep their grades up or they would be on the bench whenever their parents informed me that they weren't passing their classes. And I asked a commitment from the parents. I asked them to practice the basic skills outside of our practice days, such as dribbling and passing and rebounding, since the games are right around the corner and we didn't have enough preparation time. So the action steps that I took were truly transformational in nature. Number one, I knew that I would need to meet all the needs of the followers in order to again, have the trust of all involved. We did find a sponsor, so we were able to secure the uniforms, and the sponsor also provided us money so that we could negotiate a favorable fee with the gyms, and we were able to have one venue where we practiced all week. This gave the parents and the kids a lot of comfort. Then the parents became engaged by the weekly rotation of bringing snacks and drinks to each game, and they also attended each game in order to provide support and cheer the team on. The dads became involved by scrimmaging with the kids during the last 15 minutes of practice. This gave the kids a strong sense of support and comfort. Then each player designed their own play and named it, and we used these plays during game situations, so they felt inclusion and a sense of value since they had their own play. Our team made it to the championship game in spite of our inexperience, but we lost. But it was more than we expected for the kids, and especially since they had not played competitively before this. Eventually, we moved to the City Parks and Recreation League, which was much more competitive. But I felt that this would prepare better for the competition that we're facing in middle school and high school. This year, at least 3 players that I know of will be on the freshman teams of their respective high school teams. So a good part of our mission has been accomplished. So in review again, I remind you that in order to meet the challenges of the crisis, I worked on the plan and structure to address the challenges we faced. First, I appointed 2 coaches to help me with practice, and then I utilized transformational leadership practices with the parents. Second, I organized a meeting with the parents to align the goals of parents, coaches, and players, and also got the parents involved with the welfare of the team by providing the snacks and drinks for each game and participating in scrimmages. Third, we allowed the kids to innovate by designing their own plan and create the feeling of being valued. And fourth, the parents really felt good about contributing, being able to see their kids in uniform and enjoying the season. Fifth, we met the needs and expectation of the team, the parents, and the players, and it became worthwhile since we made it to the championship game. So we stayed together for 2 seasons. So finally, the takeaways that I get from my experience in coaching this particular team was that every organization, regardless of size, needs management and leadership. Crisis management needs planning and a structure since it can affect all the stakeholders in several different ways. And transformational leadership is probably the best practice because it can apply to most situations and most organizations or enterprises. And finally, youth sports are a very important part of our culture today because they help to develop the team spirit, they provide mentorship, and they expose kids to challenging expectations, whether it be in pursuing sports or pursuing their educations. Someday I plan to return to coaching for youth sports. Thank you very much for your time. I'll go ahead and say it.